Hey, everybody, my name is Aaron Locks. I'm the CEO and founder of the National Academy of Athletics, and I'm excited today to discuss a topic that's really close to my heart, which is helping kids feel empowered. And nothing better than to have my guest today, which is Kristen, who can really give us some insights and tips that'll help you as a parent or a coach to really work with your child and maybe have a great conversation today to lead you down the path of helping your child feel a little bit more empowered. So, Kristen, why don't you introduce yourself and let everybody know a little bit about how we hooked up and what we're doing today?
Absolutely. Thank you, Aaron. And hi, everybody. My name's Kristen Ruprecht, and I'm the owner and co-founder of Noble One. And we're a youth personal development organization. And we are out of Denver, Colorado, but we certainly have a nationwide reach. And we were fortunate actually to meet Aaron and his company during a seminar at the Aspen Institute. And it was all about bringing social and emotional learning into youth sports. And, we talked a lot during that 3-day, session, I guess, whether it's the coaches or the parents or the players, the importance of really helping to support and empower youth right now. So that's kind of what we already did as an organization. And then we were lucky to partner with you because you really focus on the physical health and the fitness, but you already kind of had a high awareness, I would say, of the social and emotional component. And now we can just help to bring some, extra support to that for kids, parents, and coaches.
It's funny because when we talk about stuff, particularly from the sports end, people don't really think body, mind, spirit, right? It's like, oh, that's kind of out there a little bit, but with my training from Coach Wooden all the way through, it really is about getting the mind right. And so I'm curious, we've been talking about this before on some of the other sessions that we recorded, and but when I think about what are some of the pinch points that you're hearing about, what are things that you're seeing that are kind of obstacles to kids feeling kind of empowered in today's youth and experience they're having to go through now, kind of being stuck at home? What are you hearing?
Yeah, that's it's probably the main thing that we talk about on a daily basis is, we're all going through it, but isolation, I think, has been one of the biggest factors that has really, stopped people in their tracks. And then there's also that element, especially for kids, when you're out of a structured environment, which, school sports tend to be structured, and you're thrown into the home, but you're being asked to still maintain some structure. That's really throwing people off. And then kind of this lack of being able to go out and connect and socialize and be around, your peers. So hopefully, you've got a good family environment, because if not, that can also contribute to it. So there's just a lot going on at the world level, but all the way down to the family and individual level that's really impacting people's mental and emotional health.
Yeah, with them missing the sports side of thing, again, just staying from the athletic side, it's so important that you said about the structure. But it's interesting because I think kids get to express themselves when they're playing the game, right? They're playing
Oh,
sports. They get to go out there, and granted, I know they've got rules of the game, and you can't foul somebody, and you got to hit the ball, whatever it is. But there's an expression that comes out of them that they're playing, right? They're playing the game, and they're
yeah.
missing that right now. My daughter, who's a junior in high school, she's not playing basketball right now, and normally we'd be sitting there watching her go down and shoot the ball and play and fail and succeed and do all these experiences, but it was her journey. And right now it becomes kind of where she's, yeah, they can go and practice, but it's not the same, right? You know what I mean? It's not the same as competing and playing the game. And I really feel like that's something they're really missing. Do you have some suggestions, maybe like as a parent, how do I help my child feel that same level of, or something to give them to feel that same level of independence and freedom to go out there and do it on their timeline and go out and do that? Got any suggestions around that?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of empowering kids right now that are, I like that you said that about the physical part, because it is an expression, and it's also a release of emotion, and and tension. It's an energetic release, for kids, and the fresh air, the nature, all of that. So, one thing that I would say is, when we talk about empowerment at Noble One, we kind of use these superpower concepts.
Mm.
And one of those that I would say for kids is like the power of setting boundaries around, how much time they're spending on screen, and then, how much time they're actually spending outside. So you have to kind of define and let them have the choice, but have them, think about what else could I be doing to go out and move my body. So if I can't be playing my sport, can I be tossing a ball around if it's snowing, I guess, inside against the wall? Or could I go outside for a walk? Or could I, meet a friend in the park and shoot baskets? So that's what I would say. Like it really comes down to having the discussion around it and then empowering them to set some boundaries for themselves.
It's interesting. I'm finding that a lot of kids that I'm dealing with and parents are asking me about it is because the kids don't get to play the game. It's almost like I don't get the reward of it. So I'm not going to do it. Right now, I know there's pieces of that. For me, what I found is when I played sports, and I played every sport you could imagine, I wanted to always compete. I'm not that I'm overly competitive, but if you want to play me a game of checkers, I'm gonna try to kick your butt. That's the nature of who I am. But I think that's also the play part. And so I think we have to encourage kids to create games so that they can play. Like when we were kids, if you and I wanted to go play in the park, we started the game like this, right? And we said, okay, all right, and then we would pick teams, right? Remember? And we would pick teams, and it'd be like, well, there's only 7 of us. How do we make it fair? Well, okay, if I get the first pick, you get the next 2, and we kind of created our own rules and we improvised and adapted. I really feel that kids are missing that in general in society, but right now they're kind of stuck to a thing where it's this schedule and stay on the screen and do this, and they don't really get the chance, I guess, empowered or feel, one of the things you've talked a lot about is the power of choice, right? So that's such an important piece for me. Set them outside, let them play, even if it's the backyard, like you said. But what can we do? How can we give them more choices? How can we help our kids to have more choices to create on their own? I think that'd be a big piece, right?
Yeah, I mean the power of choice, that's a huge thing to teach kids. I think as parents, we tend to always be like, you want your kids to make a decision about something and they're a little flighty and they're not doing it, so you'll tend to just make it for them.
Yeah.
And we really disempower them when we start to do everything for them. And so I think right now, as far as choices go, we've got to get, bringing it back to mindset again, getting the kids to stop focusing on the negative about what I'm not allowed to do. Like, oh, I can't go see my friends and I can't play my sports, but what can you do?
Yeah.
So let's flip it, flip the cup over and start to fill it again with what they can do. And to me, that's bring back the creativity. Like, for example, one thing I've always wanted to do, and I haven't done it yet, but I've still got time. I want to learn how to DJ. And I know that sounds so silly, but I love music.
Yeah, right.
So why not? Why not learn how to mix music? That's an activity that's completely different. Or why not paint, draw, write? I would say really, for this, like help kids choose new activities to kind of expand their brain and then get them out of the whole what I can't do and focus on what I can be doing.
Coach Wooden taught me, don't let what you can't do interfere with what you can, right? And I think that's what
Yeah.
you're talking about is, to get them to explore. I have a note in here, explore, because that's a big piece of it. When we were kids, we used to explore all the time, right? We invented games, but also, on our walk home, we explored. We played kick the can or whatever it was, but we were able to explore. That's interesting. Part of when you said that, I started thinking about micromanaging. And, one of my pet peeves as coaching, or parenting is we tend to get to a point where we're afraid to let our kids fail or not be completely successful the first time out, that we forget that, our kids learned to walk without our help, right? Why? Because they had a desire to walk, right? And when they had it wasn't like, hey, they're 18 months, guess what? Get up, it's time to walk. We got to practice walking every day. No, when they wanted to walk, they did because it was their desire. So I really think, not micromanaging or over scheduling, especially now when they're on schedules all the time, right? Such an important piece. Yeah, no, that's a big point. You also talk about observation as one of the powers, right? In terms of
Yeah.
of that. Tell me more about that. I'm really interested in that.
Yeah. So again, you said at the very beginning this mind, body, spirit, and observation is sort of a thing of the mind. And it's just teaching kids to have the ability to not always react. Like, and it's not just kids, and especially right now, everything's heightened. So something triggers us and we just want to react. But if we can take that short pause and respond, it puts us into an observation mode. And it's almost like you pretend that you're in, for a kid, you could say you're in a video game and you're observing yourself reacting in a certain situation. And then if you were that player, what would be the most, what would be the most positive way to respond in that situation? So it sort of takes you out of the emotion,
Right.
and puts you into a more balanced way to respond.
I wonder,
So
I wonder if we're having dinner with our kids, right? And instead of always leading the conversation, I know it's tough, but I find myself like having to drag the conversation out. First of all, we got to turn these stupid things off, right? but how
oh
to do
yeah.
that, right? But unplugging them, right? We sometimes at the National Academy of Athletics, we talk about unplug your child. You know what I mean? Like give them this opportunity. But I wonder, part of it for me is okay. I want to encourage my kids to take risks, right? Now, again, I'm not saying drive 100 miles an hour. I'm not saying jump off a cliff, but like you, it's a risk to go out there and be a DJ. But because maybe you're not going to be great at it. But so how do we do that? Because wouldn't that be great? During this time, we could focus our energy on empowering our kids, allowing them to fail, feel unconditional love, right, and support, and to try something new. So how do you help a child learn to take risks? Because there's the cautious ones that are afraid to do things. So how do you encourage them about risk taking? What would you say about that?
Yeah. Well, I want to touch on one thing that you said about, at the dinner table.
Yeah.
What popped into my head is I used to play this game with my kids when they were younger. It's not really a game, but you would sit down and we would do, and they ended up loving it, and they would actually ask for it. It was called High Low. And we would just go around the table as a family, and you had to say what was your high of the day and what was your low of the day.
Very cool.
And then there were certain rules, like you couldn't say it's simple things like this hamburger. Like it had to actually be an experience.
Yeah.
And so it got to the point where we would sit down and it's like, are we going to play high low?
Very cool.
Because they want to share and they want to open up, and then it allows you to say, wow, like I had a really hard day at work today, someone yelled at me, and you get to be vulnerable, and it allows your kids to learn through that model behavior. So that would be one suggestion to get your kids talking, is make it into like a game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but and then as far as taking risks, I think it's this questioning, like what our kids are afraid of, and then starting to, why are you afraid of that? Like did you have a situation where you tried it and it didn't work, and then what was it in your mind that made you believe you can't take that step forward again? So I think when we can walk kids through the process of their belief system, that is what encourages them to try again or take another risk. And to also, it's just like, I feel like the power of just using stories about whether it's yourself, or you can always say like a friend, but use stories about where you fell, but you persevered and you got back up. So it's always like example.
My mom, so my mom raised 5 kids. I was a self-employed artist back in the 60s and 70s, right? So she had a lot to deal with, obviously, to make it happen. But I remember the one thing she always gave was, it's almost like unconditional love, but without judgment. Like literally,
Yeah.
I could say today I found a rock that looked like this, and she was so enamored and interested. She was always saying, "Tell me more, tell me more." And it wasn't closed-end questions. It wasn't yes or no. It was like, well, what did you like about that? You know what I mean? And it really, to this day, it's funny. My mom at times will say, "God, you had such a rough childhood," and this. And I go, "Mom, I had the most amazing childhood." I really felt like I was empowered, and I think that's one of the reasons why now I live life with very little fear. Because I feel like things are going to be okay, and I've been through so much. But having that foundation, you know, It translates in sports though, because I will say this, I don't think there's any better life skill teaching tool than youth sports. You play on a team, you learn about success and failure and communication. I mean, everything we want kids to know, right? We know that your kids played sports, my kids play sports, so important. So it's such a big piece of it. You know, one thing that we've talked about before, which I really think is important too, is to help the kids find their voice, right? We've talked about this a little bit. Give me a little more in depth on that, because I know when we play sports, hey, help defense over here, and I got this, and throw it over here, whatever it is, and communicate, but they're not getting that. So what would you say about that, about helping the kids kind of find their voice?
Yeah, I think so. At the foundation, and this is pertinent for everybody. Like, we're not taught in general how to feel, or what, like the actual, and it's not a hard thing to teach, but what are feelings? And then there's this whole spectrum of those. And from that, you've got emotions, and from emotions become belief systems. So that's with Noble One, like that's the core teaching is
Say
we
that again.
teach
That's
kids.
really good. Well, say that again. Sorry to interrupt, but say it again, because that's really important. I think that hit home.
Yeah,
Say it again.
that's at the core foundation of what we teach
Yeah.
is about emotional processing.
Okay.
So it's like defining feelings and understanding how feelings elicit emotions, and then emotions turn into the stories and the beliefs that you start to tell yourself in your head. And so as far as teaching that to kids, that's the foundation of everything, because that's what instills the confidence
Mm.
that they feel good about who they are, what they're feeling, and then at the very end of the emotional processing, whether it's usually if it's a negative thing, what do I need? And being able to ask for what you need, that's being able to use your voice. And as far as what parents can do is, again, I would say, I mean, so intuitively when your kids, when something's off or something's not right, and you're observing it. And what we want to do is pull out the Band-Aids and put it on there and fix
Right.
it.
Yeah.
That teaches them nothing. So instead, you kind of engage them, you ask questions, and you get them to open up, and then you just hold space. Let them be. Let them share their voice. Let them speak. And then don't try to judge it, switch it, tell them, oh, don't think like that, think like this.
Mm.
Just let it sit there.
Yeah.
Let it just sit. And kids will just be like, wow, like that's just, we call it holding space.
Holding
You
space.
don't need to solve anything.
Yeah.
They just want a safe place to open up, share, and have, use their voice. That's what using your voice is. And the more they can share something and then it's not judged,
Right.
or something's twisted and thrown back in their face, because that's what shuts us down.
Yep. Yeah. When there's any kind of feeling of judgment, if you're going to be judged, I don't want to. Yeah. It's funny. So I think back through my childhood, but I also think what I did right with my kids rather than just the stuff that I messed up, right? Because it's what we do. But I think about the times where I had something that I wanted them to accomplish. Let's say in sports, I wanted them to do this, and it was more about what I wanted for them instead of what they wanted. One thing, when I was I was the umpire in the Giants television commercials back in 2014, 12 through 14. I guess I had a face for a mask, right?
I knew you were a celebrity.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, but anyways, sometimes you see my arm. But anyways, I remember hanging out with the players, and we were talking about, like, what does it take to be able to play high school varsity, college, or get paid to play a sport, right? What is it to be successful in any field that you're interested in? And we were talking about things, and I remember, man, we were saying about fundamentals and basics and hard work and dedication. And then Buster Posey, he was the catcher for the Giants and in the World Series, and he said it's passion. He said, you have to help your child reveal or develop a passion that they're willing to do this when no one's watching. Because if you're going to be the best or really good at something, they have to hold it in their heart, the space to want to. I mean, I think about how many times I went out and shot baskets on my own. And I imagine myself playing against Magic Johnson or Larry Bird and making that last second shot. You have to have that within yourself, because if you have a passion within yourself for it, then it'll manifest, right? It'll develop this way to go forward with it. And I got to imagine part of that is just the imagination, but like you said, man, space. Give them the space to make that happen and to develop a passion. What would you say how could a parent help a child, especially now, develop that or find their passion? I thought you said earlier it was great about revealing and trying different things, but anything else you think about that space that would help?
Yeah, I think again, it's like because we work with a lot of kids, and was talking to a girl the other day about this, and it's like they're so again, we have this society that's kind of programming the norm, right? And this is such an amazing opportunity because the norm has absolutely crumbled to the ground. We're not going back. And so now you get to kind of create from this blank slate, if you will. So what I was talking to this girl about was like, where did she believe that, like, if you're not good at sports, or you're not, getting the best grades, or you're, the norm, then that means that you're not likable or lovable or worthy? Because she was interested in different things. She was a little bit more of a quiet girl. She liked art, she liked animals. That's a passion,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
instead of a parent, kind of always pushing like, well, you should try this sport or this, if you see that your kid's gifted in something else, foster that, develop that, encourage that. That's what's going to help them realize it's okay to follow their dream, their intuition, what they came here to do. And I'm a firm believer, which is why I chose to work with youth instead of adults, is like, these kids are here to change the world. They're smart, they're intuitive, they sense what's going on, and they want to do things differently. They're tired of these old structures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find myself, as we go through this conversation, I literally search failures every day because I know if I'm pushing to failure, then I'm actually getting better, whether it's lifting weights or whether it's shooting baskets. I mean, whatever it is, I'm pushing to try to find failure, because here's the deal. If I can find things that I don't fail at a lot, I kind of go, oh, okay, this, maybe I'm going in the right direction. And sometimes, I mean, think about they developed the phone, and 700 times they didn't get the message through. And then 701, hello, Mr. Watson or whatever, I'm here,
Yeah.
and for kids, that's again, getting back to when they learn to walk. I kind of feel like our kids could fly if we didn't tell them they couldn't, right? I feel like they have
Oh,
the ability to just do that. My daughter is an amazing photographer. And so we got her after, a while of doing it, we got her this really cool camera. And it's weird for me because it's not athletic and we should be playing sports, but man, you should see the pictures she takes, right? And it's a passion of hers. So I don't know if it's going to be in her career. I don't know if she'd end up playing basketball or whatever the case may be as her career. But instead of me, I'm learning, instead of focusing on what I want for her, I'm kind of thinking, what does she want for her? And it sounds like that's kind of what you're saying is guide them to find their passion and see where it goes. It doesn't have to be a lifetime passion, right? But just developing passion and figuring that out, right?
well, think about it like this. Like, if you look back at how the world has evolved, technology, those are the creative people. Those are the people that see a problem and then they develop a solution to make something better and forge ahead. That's leadership. So if we're sitting there trying to get our kids to do everything the way we did it and the way we would do it, well, then aren't we just creating carbon copies where nothing will change? So I mean, kudos to the different kids, the ones that are here to stand out versus fit in. So
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. And I think what you said about really teaching kids to reflect, that's that power of observation, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, whether you play high low, or you journal some things you're grateful for, or there's something they're caught up on, help just talk them through it. Like, what is it that's bothering you about that? What do you feel like? Let's not talk about the failure. Let's talk about what you learned.
Yeah.
Because a mistake is a mistake. We all make them, but once you make it, it's in the past. It's
Right.
done.
Done. Right.
But what did you learn? And if you can figure out what you learned, then you've evolved.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it.
Man, I'll tell you what, I think that's a perfect place to close the session, man. I've got ideas. I want to talk to you more about leadership and other things. I'm thinking all these great ideas. But okay, so let me ask you a question because, man, I got all these great things that are running through my head. I'm even taking notes. And we've talked before, but I'm excited to do it again. I'm looking for the next video with you. If someone wants to get in touch with you to find out about maybe some of the counseling that you can do or other opportunities to reach out or social media, where do they find you? Where do they find you guys?
Yeah, I mean, the best place to really learn the most about us is go to our website, which is nobleones.org, and click on coaching, and it'll drop down services. And we do everything from one-on-one coaching with kids. We always involve the parents because the apple fell from the tree. Let's not forget.
Right.
So we got to talk to both. It's a partnership, and we work with groups. We work with other organizations. So it's all about we're about prevention education, to really keep kids from getting stuck in, mental issues and things like that. So yeah, nobleones.org. And if you want to email us directly, if you feel so inspired, connect@nobleones.org.
And you're on Facebook and all the other social media so they can find you. You got
Yep.
nothing for sure. Great.
Yeah, if you go to the website, all the social media icons are on there for Facebook, Instagram, and whatnot. Yep.
Great. Well, I'm so thankful for you sharing the time with me, and I love our conversations. And hopefully, the parents or the people that are choosing to listen to this have got something positive. I'm sure they have. I know I have. If you want to reach out to National Academy, you can find us at nationalacademyofathletics.com on Instagram, Facebook, social media, of course. Reach out to us. We want to be able to help any way we can. We are really working on our mission to inspire and help create positive change, create confidence, optimism, and personal growth in kids and those that are involved in working with them. So I appreciate your time today. Kristen, I really appreciate your time today. And what we always like to close out with is inspiring and thanking people to play hard and have fun. Thanks. Be well.
Stay cool.